Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 1581.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Hello, inspiring automotive enthusiasts, and welcome to Cars Yeah. I'm revved up and very excited to share with you today a guest calling in from Fixdale, Massachusetts, Wendy Cappola. Wendy Cappola is the president of She Racing. You know what we're talking about today. Women in the Sport, a company created to help more women get involved and be successful in the automotive sports car world. She provides a platform for female motorsports drivers and enthusiasts to promote and support females in a sport of high performance driving where women racers can collectively have a voice and start changing the industry. Having always been an automotive enthusiast, Wendy had her first on-track experience in 2012 when a friend invited her to ride shotgun in a Ferrari Challenge car. Oh my gosh, those are the kind of friends to have at Watkins Glen International. Fantastic track. From that point, Wendy got hooked. She has since earned her SCCA full competition license, and she is in her second season and has won 2 podium finishes. Congratulations to Wendy. We'll be right back to talk with her and learn about what she's up to. But first, a word from our valued sponsors that make Cars Yeah possible. So stay buckled up, keep your helmet on. We'll be right back. When it comes to your vehicles, things can get a little messy. Rain, snow, salt, mud, dirt, and everything Mother Nature comes up with can hurt the finish of your vehicles, both inside and out, like that bird on the branch up above your car. I'm not worried though, because I've used Covercraft products on my ride since 1975. That's right, since 1975. Today, Covercraft offers you a total solution for vehicle protection. They make the best fitting, finest made car covers in the world and offer a wide variety of materials, colors, and options that protect your paint and the interior, whether your car is inside or outside. Plus, they keep your car cool when it's parked in the sun. Live where it's really sunny all the time? Lucky. Covercraft covers and sunscreens are the best. If you've got pets, messy kids, messy in-laws, just plain messy friends, Covercraft seat covers are the perfect fit and perfect solution for keeping your seats looking new. They're easy on, easy off, and they're easy to wash too. And don't forget Covercraft's custom fit floor mats and trunk liners. Plus, they're very handy seat back organizers. They are must-haves for all your vehicles. Your car, your truck, your van, or whatever you drive will say thank you. And I've got a deal for you. If you use the code YEAH120, that's YEAH120, at covercraft.com, you can get 10% off your Covercraft order. Just go to covercraft.com, check out all the products they have to protect your vehicles, use the code YEAH120 at checkout, and get that 10% discount. That's covercraft.com and use YEAH120 at checkout. Covercraft, they've got you covered. Kevin Buckler is a winning racer and team owner of the Racers Group. He has over 100 professional wins, multiple wins at the 24-hour of Daytona, and a win at Le Mans. Kevin realized the racing world is about the people and founded Adobe Road Winery. He and his team have created a winning combination with the Racing Series, 4 ultra-premium red wine blends that are in a class of their own with a racing twist. Just like in racing, these wines comprise of art, precision, engineering, science, superb taste, all blended together with a whole lot of fun. There are 4 carefully crafted blends with race-inspired names: Redline, Apex, Shift, and the 24. When you purchase all 4, you get the entire lineup in a beautifully designed gift box. There's a printed description of the blends inside the box lid, and every bottle is parked in a protective, die-cut placeholder. The bottles feature 3-dimensional labels, and I promise you'll want to keep them after enjoying these delicious wines. The box is so cool, you'll want to keep it too. The Racing Series is a killer gift for the automotive enthusiasts in your life, and I have a deal for you. If you use the code CARSYEAH, all one word, all caps, at checkout, you'll get $10 off any purchase of wine from the Racing Series. Your wine ships promptly and arrives quickly. Use the code CARSYEAH at checkout for $10 off on your purchase today. There's always a seat at the table for excellence with the Racing Series. Go to adoberoadwines.com and use the code CARSYEAH today to get your deal. Cheers. Hey, Wendy, welcome to Cars Yeah. Are you buckled up and ready for a fun ride?
I am ready to go.
All right. You probably heard that a few times. Now, before I jump into the questions about your life and this career path you've chosen to help women in motorsports, I want to know this. What's one little thing that you might share with us that most people don't know about you?
Well, it's interesting because in my professional world, most people are surprised to hear that I'm a race car driver. But I would say within this context, one of the fun things that people might not know about me is that I am very freaked out by spiders.
Spiders?
And in fact,
okay. Yeah.
I was driving in a test day one day last year, and a spider was making its way across my windshield
as
I'm driving down the track. And I sat there and thought to myself, I can do this. I can do this. Yeah. And as it started to go across the dashboards and toward me, I said, no, I can't do this. So I had to pull into the pit and call one of the crew over and have them kill the spider for me.
Get rid of the spider. You know, I'm chuckling because it's interesting how we as humans, as big as we are, can be worried about something so small. And I understand why. They can be kind of creepy looking. And my mom is deathly afraid of spiders. I mean, just they totally freak her out. And she was visiting once when my son was quite young. And we have these things called wolf spiders here in the Pacific Northwest. They're very large. They look ominous. They're not as big as a tarantula, but they look like a little baby cousin of a tarantula. But they don't bite you. And they're great to actually have in your garage because they eat every insect that comes in there. I have a few that I've named. They live in the corner of my garage where the insects can creep through the little crack in the doorway, and they take care of the insects for me. But I remember he caught one with his hands and brought it in. He said, "Grandma, look." And I think he almost gave her a heart attack. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that would do it.
Probably not the thing to do to grandma, scare her. And he wasn't trying to scare her. He just thought it was kind of cool. I think he was like 4 years old or something like that. Yeah, well, hang in there. Most spiders won't hurt you. So stay focused on the track. But I can't imagine. It's like having a snake in the car or something like, So, well, listen, as we start on this journey that is your life, I'd love for you to share a success quote or a mantra, some kind of saying that has meaning for you. So, Wendy, grab the wheel.
Sure. I think the biggest mantra for me that I live my life by is one that I saw that says, live the life you dream. And I really it really struck a chord with me that it doesn't make sense to wait to achieve the things that you want to achieve or to put things off or postpone the things that are important to you. The last thing I want is to reflect back on my life. You know, when I'm old and gray and sitting in the rocking chair, I don't want to have any regrets. I don't want to feel as though I didn't do the things that I wanted to do. So every day I think about that. Live the life you dream. Make it happen. Do it today.
You know, it's so important. And obviously what we're all going through with this COVID-19 situation brings that to light even more. Back when I was younger, we had little kids, a mortgage and all this, and I really wanted to do some racing, vintage racing. But I thought, well, maybe now's not the right time. I'll wait till later. My wife, in her infinite wisdom, she's way smarter than me, I said, you know what? If you wait, you may not ever do it. And on the other side of it, you may not ever make it to that point. I know that sounds a little bad, but you know what? It's right. You should live for the day and do what you want to do now. Let's talk about how this concept of yours translates into she racing and what you're doing, because you're opening up the world to women who maybe didn't see there was an opportunity at the track. And I commend you for that. So talk to us more about sheracing.com.
Sure will. So Mark, I started racing a little bit later in life. And when I started to go through the process of getting my license and so forth, I realized that I had a lot to learn. There's a lot more to racing than what you would realize as a spectator. And I also realized that there really wasn't a single source where I could go to get information, to get guidance, and to really have get the answers and the tools that I needed. You know, there were so many things to figure out, like what do I need for gear? How do I get seat time? What's the best way to get a car? What's the process of getting a license? And fortunately, I knew enough people to help me tackle some of those hurdles and figure things out. But I don't think all women have that. And so it struck me that there needs to be something that provides that for women. And that's why I started She Racing, to really make sure that when women are interested in racing, that they know that it is achievable, that it is just as much for them as it is for anybody else, and that it should be easy and that they should be able to find the resources that they need to help them be successful.
You know, one of our mutual friends who connected us today is the great Cindy Sisson. And yesterday she was at a racetrack, a VIR, with Kevin Buckler and a couple of his drivers and another past guest here on Cars Yeah, and they were all having fun and driving me crazy, sending me pictures of all the fun they're having. So shout out to them I wish I was at VIR with them that day. That would have been fun to jump in a Porsche and get a ride with Spencer Pompelli or Kevin DeBoer and some of the folks that were driving there today. Let me ask you this. When a woman comes to you and says, hey, I have an interest in this, what are some of the key points, and you touched on some of them, that you help direct her down this path so that she can get on the track and start driving?
Well, I think one of the things is, number one, don't be afraid to get out there and try it. Get a feel for it. Just go out for a test day. There's plenty of options where you can either go out and bring your own car on track and just do Track Night in America, which is very inexpensive as a way to just get a flavor for it, or to do a test day or a driver's education day. And then the next thing I think is to try and experience the different options that are available to you. Do you want to drive on track? Do you want to do oval racing or road racing? Is autocross maybe an option for you? And just, really to help them understand what are the different things that are out there. And maybe they find something where they are comfortable or have a real passion, and, really help guide them and direct them and just help them understand what the options are.
Let me ask you this. When it comes to women getting on the track, maybe one or two key things that are keeping them from getting there. Is it simply a mindset of somebody thinking I can't do that, or are there other obstacles they might encounter?
I think there's a couple things. So one is, I think there is a notion that, car racing is for men. And when you go to the track, you don't see a lot of women. And so it can be a little bit intimidating. And what I'm trying to do is be there, create an environment that's a little bit more comfortable for women, make sure that they know the ropes, how to get around, how to negotiate and navigate and things like that. Make sure that the coaching is something that is, something that they can feel comfortable with and so forth. And then the other thing is, a lot of times the equipment, when you go and buy equipment, there's really not a lot of rack suits available, fire suits for women, or even shoes that are made for women. And so again, there's just some hurdles still out there, I think, and some ways that I would love to have an influence on the industry to help make it a little bit more accessible.
Absolutely. Well, there's some opportunities for some of these manufacturers to open up some doors to women. Even something as simple, I've had some women racers, and you've got a beautiful head of hair, and I thought, how do you get all that hair under that helmet? I have no hair, so I'm a little follically challenged. No problem for me. I'm just a big cue ball. Helmets work well. But I hadn't thought about that. Finding shoes for women, finding race suits that fit women's bodies differently, hair, all these kinds of things. So I think it's fascinating. I think it's great what you're doing to help the industry. It's really, really cool. When did you decide that this was something you wanted to get into?
Well, it's funny. I mentioned in my bio that I was invited to take a ride in the passenger seat in a Ferrari Challenge car at Watkins Glen. And that was really, I was bit by the bug from that moment on. I've always been a car enthusiast, had always been a race spectator. And when I was invited for the ride, I just said, sure. And then the next thing you know, I'm getting, a whole fire suit and a helmet strapped on me and strapped in the car. And they're telling me, give me a thumbs up if you're good, and give me a thumbs down if you need me to stop. And off we took. And it was the thrill of my life, let me tell you. And then, they said, well, we're building some cars for getting people into racing. Would you like to try it? And I said, count me in. I had the support of my husband. And I think the other thing, Mark, is what I learned, and what most people probably don't realize, is that racing is not just about going fast. It's about the accuracy. It's about the car dynamics. It's about how well you're taking your corners and things like that. And I'm a very analytical person. So for me, that has just made it so fascinating. And you're right. When you first get on track, it's not about how fast can you go. It's about how accurate are you. And then the speed comes. And it gives you almost like a little challenge every lap that you do. Can I make this one a little bit better? Can I get a little bit faster? And it's just such a different dynamic than I ever thought it would be.
Yeah, it really is fascinating. And of course, I've had many professional racers on this show, hundreds of them, and most of them say you win before you even get to the track, preparation. So another whole part of this is not just driving, it's learning what your car can do. If you want to learn how to work on your car, or you want to have a service do that and do trackside service, that's fine too. That's what I did in vintage racing. I wanted somebody else who was more professional at spinning a wrench than I might be, because my life was on the line. I wanted to make sure that everything was done right, especially in an old car that doesn't have a lot of protection around you. So I think it's great, the doors you're opening for women in this industry. I welcome that. I think it's fantastic. Let's talk a little bit about a big challenge you may have faced along the way. Now, this could be your life. It could be with your business, could be your career. Take us on a journey where you were really pushed up against a wall, perhaps, and had to deal with something pretty serious. But more importantly, what was that lesson learned so that you could come out of that in a really positive way?
Sure. I think for me, the biggest challenge has always been that I tend to be a natural introvert. And racing has actually really helped me break out of that because obviously being an entrepreneur, trying to start a business, you really need to get out there. You need to make yourself accessible to people. You need to network. And that's something that I've always found to be, a little bit of a challenge just because my comfort zone is my time.
Yes.
But what I've learned is that I get really energized when I'm talking to people about she racing. I find that people are so supportive. People really appreciate and want to help. And that has been just astounding to me how much by getting out there, I've generated enthusiasm and support for the business and for women in racing.
I found that in this automotive industry that we're in, it's one of the best industries ever because so many people are willing to help you, even competitors. Let's take a short break and thank our sponsors here. We'll be right back to talk about passion for cars. Where did this come from? And a lot more. So sit tight, stay buckled up. We'll be right back. Let's step away from the conversation to talk about our charity of choice here at Cars Yeah, America's Automotive Trust. America's Automotive Trust is a group of like-minded nonprofits that are working together to preserve and promote car culture across the country. Together, they provide scholarships and grants to aspiring technicians and restoration artists. They provide youth education programs and bring communities together through automotive-related events, car shows, and drives. Among those nonprofits is RPM Foundation, a terrific organization working to keep our favorite collector cars on the road. RPM was created to ensure that the specialized skills needed to care for classic automobiles, boats, and motorcycles continue to be passed down from generation to generation. They do this by supporting training for young people with a passion for restoration and setting them up with mentors who can share their valuable knowledge. So far, they've awarded more than $3.5 million to restoration education projects across 35 states. Incredible! To learn more about RPM or to donate to their mission, visit www.rpm.foundation. You'll be glad you did. My favorite collector car magazine is Keith Martin's Sports Car Market. I've been a subscriber for decades. Sports Car Market is the Wall Street Journal for enthusiasts and collectors. It's your monthly must-read, whether you dream of owning a collector car, maybe you have two, or maybe you've got 200. Sports Car Market has been around for 31 years, and it's filled with valuable articles, intelligent write-ups, and the latest auction sales. Go to sportscarmarket.com and subscribe today. And don't miss my weekly podcast with Keith Martin titled Buy, Sell, Hold. It's the essence of collecting. We talk to the movers and shakers in the collector car world. Here's a couple deals I have for you just for listening here on Cars Yeah. If you use the checkout code Cars Yeah, you'll receive a 50% discount on your digital subscription at Sports Car Market. That's an exclusive offer from Cars Yeah. And guess what? Here's another deal. If you'd like to get the actual magazine, use the code BSH for Buy, Sell, Hold. That's code BSH, and you'll get $10 off your annual print subscription. That's right, $10 off. Both of these are exclusive offers here at Cars Yeah for Sports Car Market magazine. Just go to sportscarmarket.com and get your deals today. If you're listening to Cars Yeah, you've probably spent some time working on your favorite ride. But how confident are you working on your finances? You may be able to rebuild a fuel injection system, but can you decipher the details of a mutual fund? If you're like me, investments, insurance, annuities, budgeting, and other financial concepts may seem a bit daunting, but what if I told you there's a book that describes these subjects and more in an easy-to-read and a very humorous way? My friend Chris Kimball, CFP, a longtime sponsor and past guest here on Cars Yeah, has written that book, and it's titled The Saga of Eicken Penny, a couple's humorous journey through the confusing world of finance. It's a fun look at things you need to know, everything from investing to effective ways to get rid of credit card debt, and it's probably the only book on finance with a VMAX on the front cover and a classic Mini Cooper on the back. The book's available at Amazon for just $10, and this book will dramatically improve the direction of your financial future. I gave copies to each of my children. All securities are through Money Concepts Capital Corp. Christopher Kimball Financial Services is not affiliated with Money Concepts Capital Corp. Get your copy, The Saga of Eicken and Penny, today. Okay, Wendy, we are back, and I'd love for you to share a story that instigated this passion that you obviously have for cars, for race cars. Is there a pivotal moment in your life and you knew that you were kind of a car gal?
Well, I as far back as I can remember, I've always been interested in cars. But I do remember back when I was a teenager, I went to my first race. It was at Watkins Glen, and it was a Grand Prix race. And I was able to walk around the pits. I was able to, watch the racing. Just the smells of the track and the excitement and enthusiasm and the speed and the sounds. I mean, I think that was the pivotal moment for me.
Yeah, that locked it down. So a Grand Prix race at that track. Now, may I ask what year that was? Do you remember?
It was probably back in the 80s.
Uh-huh. Wow. So you probably saw some pretty famous, iconic drivers in their cars back then.
Definitely, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. I've said this before. My wife is not really much into cars. She supports my passion, but it's not really her thing. I've taken her to the racetrack a few times. And when I've taken her to a professional race, the first one was at Del Mar when they used to have the Del Mar Grand Prix there with the LPM cars and Can-Am type cars. And she kind of went reluctantly. She was like blown away. She said, "This is more fun I could have ever." Yes, I had no idea this is going to be so much fun. Same thing as when I took her to a car auction the first time. On TV, it's like yawn, like watching golf on television. But when she was there, she's like, "I don't want to leave. This is really fun. I like watching people spend money." So I'm like, well, good. Thank you. Can I spend some? No, not you, those other people. But going to a race, I'd encourage listeners who haven't ever been to a professional race, whether it's a drag race, road race, championship race, even a local race where people are out there autocrossing, which are kind of fun to see, or vintage races. It'll give you a whole nother perspective once you're there. And you might end up like Wendy. You can end up in a race car driving. So be careful. This thing is infectious. How about a little bit of fun here? What was your first really special vehicle in your life?
I would say the most special vehicle I've ever owned was it was a 2004 C5 Corvette. I have always loved Corvettes. And, if anybody had ever asked me growing up, if you could have any car, what would it be? And I always said a red Corvette. So in 2004, I realized that dream and got my Corvette.
Wow. Was it a brand new car then?
It was a brand new car. Yep.
Oh, what fun. So tell me one of your best memories in that C5.
Well, I'll tell you what's funny. We went away for the weekend and we had our golf clubs with us and we had a couple suitcases. So as you can imagine, in a 2-seat sports car, it was pretty full.
Yep.
And when we were on our way back, I happened to see this home decor store that I wanted to stop in and look around. And I found these huge glass vases, 3 or 4 feet tall, and I had to have them. And my husband said, "If you want them, I'll figure out a way to get them in the car." And he did.
He did?
So,
oh my gosh.
In addition to the suitcases and everything else, I had my large glass vases, and the Corvette handled it no problem.
That's hilarious. Well, here's a bit of an introspective question, Wendy. I'm going to get in your head. I'm going to be your therapist today, okay?
Okay.
If you woke up tomorrow and you were a vehicle, not what you want to be, but how you perceive yourself manifest as a vehicle, what would Wendy be and why?
I would have to be a transformer.
A transformer. Okay, I like where we're going with this.
I think I would be Bumblebee.
Bumblebee. Okay, and why Bumblebee?
Well, I think that, certainly Bumblebee was a great car, especially the later version, which is the Camaro.
Yeah.
But also, you're a racer when you want to be a racer, and then you can transform into something else when you're dealing with the other parts of your life. So that's what I think I would be.
You know what? I'm trying to think. I've interviewed a lot of people, so sometimes my memory is hard to get back to all 1,581, but I'm not so sure anybody has been the Transformer Bumblebee. I think you're the first. So that's pretty darn cool. All right, well, we are entering the last lap. This is a place you've been many times. The white flag's out. You can see the checkered in the distance, and I want you to give me some quick blips of that Bumblebee throttle. So here we go.
Okay.
What's one of your personal habits you believe has contributed to your many successes in life?
I set very, very high standards for myself.
How about if I could arrange for you to sit down and have a drink or a meal with anyone in the automotive or racing field, living or deceased? Who would that be?
I would love to have a drink with Simona Di Silvestro.
Oh,
I admire her as a driver. She was training to be an F1 driver. I think she would have so many fascinating stories to tell. And I think she'd be a great person to, really understand and bring perspective to shoe racing.
yeah, I think she would. I'd love to have her be a guest on the show for sure. Maybe together we can have a meal with her and pick her brain a little bit. What's the best automotive or racing advice someone else ever shared with you?
I think the advice that I have gained the most from is eyes up.
Yeah.
It's something that I tell myself every time I'm driving on track is you can never tell yourself enough. You can't just look at what the next turning point is. You have to look where you want the car to go. So,
it's a great metaphor for life too, that I've shared with many people, including my kids, is you shouldn't just be looking where you are. You should be looking where you want to go. And
right.
that should be your goal. And I love how it relates to racing and to life and so forth. I've also heard that's why the windshield's bigger than the rearview mirror, because where you need to go is more important than where you've been. So head up for sure.
Good one.
It works really good in daily driving and commute driving too. How many times have we seen somebody have to slam on their brakes because they're not looking past the car in front of them that just slammed on their brakes, or looking ahead to what traffic is doing? They're just looking right at their hood. That'll get you in trouble. How about a resource? Is there one for you other than your fine company that you'd like to share with us?
Well, the resource that I think has been the most helpful for me, there's actually a book called Performance Thinking. I imagine you may have heard of it, by Dr. Jacques Dallaire.
Yeah.
I actually had the opportunity to meet Patrick Dempsey last year. We were supporting his Dempsey Cancer Center, a fundraiser. And of course, I had to jump on the fact that I'm a fan of his Porsche team and do some club racing myself. And he said, if you haven't read that book, go out and get it. So I went out and got it the next day, and I found that to be helpful not only in the racing world, but also in all aspects of life, quite honestly.
Well, Mr. McDreamy, isn't that what they call him?
Mr. McDreamy, that's right.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I'd love to get him on this show as well. He's a hard guy to track down, but Jacques Dallaire has been a guest on my show twice now. And so for you listeners, if you want to learn more about him and his incredible book, Performance Thinking, and I'll tell you, that book is good for more than just driving. It's good for a lot of aspects of life. And the second time I had him on the show, we did a very different kind of show to talk about how mindset plays an important part of your life and how to achieve things and be successful. So I'm glad that you brought him up. Jacques Dallaire, I got to meet him at the LeMay Museum at a pre-event with Andy Collins from Armadillo Racing, who also runs our local Sovereign Vintage Racing group. He had a little dinner thing for some of the speakers that were going to be at his event. I got to be a speaker at his event too, which is a performance racing class that he gives every year. So check that out on the Cars Yeah website. Andy's been a guest on the show as well. You can find all these links that Wendy has shared with us today on her show notes page. Her last name is spelled Cappola, Wendy Cappola. You'll find her right there. All right, Wendy, we're up to the checkered flag, and this last question could be a bit of a doozy. I'm going to have some fun today and buy you any kind of cool car you want. This could be a collector car, could be a vintage race car. It could be a race car, but there are some rules to the game. You can't sell it to fund your racing. So whatever I buy you, you got to keep. I want you to drive it. No garage queens allowed here, but here's the kicker. It's the only one cool collector car that you can have. So we'll remove any current race cars you have from this list, because if you love to race, you don't want to get rid of that. Or maybe you want to replace one of your race cars with the one I'm going to buy you. But what can I buy you today?
Well, if I could have one car, I would choose an Indy car.
Oh, okay.
And because I am a big IndyCar fan, and I am a big fan of Scott Dixon. So if I could have one of Scott Dixon's Indy cars, that's what I would like to have in my garage.
Oh, my.
If you would buy that for me, Mark, that'd be me.
Would
really
you be
great.
happy? Okay, well, I want to make you happy today. That's cool. Well, that's a pretty unique car to pick, and I'm not surprised that you picked a race car, and they certainly have vintage racing leagues where you can run cars like that and have some fun. Very challenging. But that's a serious race car. I mean, those things go super, super fast. One thing I was thinking of is you see sometimes at the Indy 500, and of course, ours has been delayed this year because I'm going to remain positive that it's still going to be in the fall, that my good friend Lynn St. James has told me is going to happen. We're all thinking positive thoughts here.
Yes.
Why Scott Dixon, though, and his Indy car? I mean, there's so many Indy cars to choose from. There's been such incredible history. What is it about one of Scott's cars that really intrigues you?
Well, I figure this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. It's something that, money can't buy. So number one, getting an Indy car, this is probably the only way I would ever get to have an Indy car in my garage. But I also, like I said, I'm a big fan of Scott. I think he's a wonderful driver, and to have, a memoir of a car that he actually drove on track and maybe even won with would be just, I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty darn cool. Well, I'll get to work on that. That may be a bit of a challenge. I'm sure they've got some at the Indy track, but there's that new guy named Roger Penske who's taken over that place. He might not want to let any of those cars go. Not like he needs to sell anything, but we're certainly looking forward to the changes that he's going to make at the Indianapolis 500 and that great facility too. So I can't wait. It's just kind of a shame that we got waylaid here with this pandemic this year, but it looks like things are starting to crack open a little bit. So we'll wish the best wishes for everybody when it comes to that. Absolutely. Wendy, you've taken me on a great ride around the track today. I knew we'd have some fun together. I've really enjoyed getting to know you better. Again, a shout out to Cindy Sisson, the master connector, the great connector that she is. She's connected with so many great people like yourself. Thank you for sharing your journey with the Cars Yeah listeners. Before I let you go, though, and before you race off into the sunset in that Scott Dixon Indy car, would you share one little parting piece of wisdom or guidance for our listeners?
Absolutely. I think it's important to start every day appreciating the things that you have and that you set out to make it a good day.
I always tell people, if you're ever feeling down, close your eyes and think about what you're grateful for, because you can't be depressed when you're grateful.
Right.
So great way to start a day.
Absolutely. And I think it's important, there's no reason why today can't be a great day. So just set out with that perspective and make it the best it can be.
What's the best way for people to follow along with what you're doing at She Racing?
Well, the best way to find me, I do have a website, which is she-racing.com. And then I also have merchandise at several of the track stores. And I have a booth at many racing events. So I would love for people to come look me up.
What are some of the track stores where people can find your goods?
I am currently primarily in the Northeast. So I'm at Watkins Glen. I am at Lime Rock. I am at Thompson, and I am hopefully going to be in New Jersey this year when they reopen.
Great. Awesome. I'll make sure to put links to all those on Wendy's show notes page. Again, just go to carsyeah.com, type in Wendy. She's one of the few, if not maybe the only Wendy I've had. No, I've had another Wendy. So you'll have to make sure you put her last page, her last name in there, Cappola, Cappola, and you'll find her page right there. I encourage you to follow along with her. If you're a woman and you want to get into the sport of driving at any level, reach out to Wendy. She'd love to hear from you. She'll help you.
Absolutely.
She'll get you on track. She'll get you having some fun. Even if it's just jumping into the right seat of a car and getting to go out on a track and have that experience that she had. Boy, what a way to start your career in a Ferrari Challenge car. Oh my gosh. Yeah, if you're not hooked after that, you're picking the wrong path to go down. That's for sure. Oh my gosh, what fun. Wendy, again, thank you for spending some time with me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. This has been a delight to get to know you. Until you and I talk again, I'll see you down the road.
Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah.